Good evening, everyone. It is Monday, December 18th, 2023, and I will call at 6:04 p.m. to order the Northborough Select Board meeting. My name is Mitch Cohen, and I chair this merry group. I will read some opening remarks, and then we'll get started. This open meeting of the Northborough Select Board is being conducted remotely, consistent with Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023 relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. All members of the Northborough Select Board are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The Act allows the Northborough Select Board to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream or the recording of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. I'll now go around the virtual room and make sure everyone can hear and be heard. Kristen Wickstead.
Here.
Julianne Hirsch.
Here.
Laura Zeiton.
Here.
Lisa Maselli.
Here.
And here for, I believe, his very first regular select board meeting, new town administrator, Tim.
Hello.
Welcome. And we also have with us Owen from Northborough Cable to guide us with the technical part of the process. We have an executive session that we estimate will take about an hour, and then we will come back to public session. And with that, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session. And Kristen, as always, I give these long ones to you.
Thanks. I move the board vote to enter into executive session pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A3 litigation update Marlborough wastewater treatment plant pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A2 to conduct strategy sessions and or contract negotiations with Police Chief Brian Griffin and pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A7 for the review and consideration of the following executive session meeting minutes. November 16th, 2023, November 20th, 23, December 4th, 2023, December 8th, 2023, December 11th, 2023, due to the chair's determination that a discussion regarding these matters in an open session may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the town.
Second.
Motion's been made by Kristen, seconded by Laura. Any discussion? All those in favor. Kristen.
Aye.
Laura.
Aye.
Lisa.
Aye.
Julianne.
Aye.
I also vote aye. Vote is unanimous in favor. We are going over to executive session now, and we'll see the public when we're done. Bye-bye.
Now let's see if I can do what I want to do. Choose virtual background. Ooh. Okay, I want to get rid of that. Ah, look at that. Well, can't look at anything, can you? No. Really?
Can folks hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. And I can hear you. All right. Hopefully this will. I reboot my computer about once a month, and every once in a while, that's just.
Oh, it's maybe from the storm today.
No, it's just, it gets tired. I have a lot. Oh yeah, by the way, we're live. I just realized that because we already started the webinar. Yeah, because of the development work I do, I have a lot of very large applications that are running all the time with about 1 million windows. And that after a month, that makes anybody tired. So we'll get started in a moment. Board is here. We're waiting for Tim and Di and anyone else who.
I have to go get some more water. I'll be right back.
Sure. I already see one virtual hand raised in the audience, where we'll be getting to public comment pretty quickly. And assuming that's what your hand is up for, I'll recognize you then. Who is iPhone de Miguel?
Yeah, that's the manager of Rancho Corona
okay.
for the first item.
Okay. Well, we're going to have public comment, and we've got some meeting minutes, and then that. So that would be the time to bring him in.
Yep.
Okay. Great. All right. Are we all ready to go?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. We just completed an executive session. Thank you for all for being patient. Before we join our regular meeting, I do want to share some very sad news. We lost a very important member of the community on Friday. Craig Cox was a constant and cheerful presence throughout town for many years. He was a longtime scout leader, a very passionate defender of the outdoors, as a member of the Trails Committee, and together with his wife Suzanne, a powerful force in many arts and cultural events as members of the Cultural Council. All members of the board considered Craig a good friend. I know that's something we share with countless others in town. We send our sympathies and our support and our love to Suzanne and their 3 children, Genevieve, Rose, and Kenneth. Julianne, I believe you wanted to say something as well.
Yes, thank you for giving me the opportunity to say something about Craig. I met Suzanne and Craig through the Cultural Council over 5 years ago. I can't talk about Craig without including Suzanne because they were a team who made things happen. I'm sure you all remember the doors exhibits. Well, it was Craig who was picking up doors, moving doors, and delivering doors. At Culture Fest, he was putting up tents and working on the sound system. When the council decided on the mural project, he was the one who prepared the wall. So I guess that's what you can say about Craig. He did the really important work few people saw, but he did it without looking for praise or thanks. And now I wish that I had taken the time to really thank him for all that he did for Northborough. I hope somewhere he can hear the beautiful things people are saying about him. And I hope that our words bring some kind of comfort to Suzanne.
Thank you, Julianne. Let's take a moment or two to think of Craig and his family. You're welcome to turn your cameras off if you'd like. We'll be back soon. All right. Folks ready to continue? Okay. All right. All right. I think it was, I think we all agreed it was important to recognize Craig's passing and particularly his contribution to the town before we started our meeting. Meant a lot to us. Unfortunately, we do have a lot of work to do. So moving on, it's hard to move on to the meeting, but we do. Public comment is our first item, as always, on the public part of our agenda. I do see a hand up. I see Jay Cahill. I assume that's Jean. I'm going to bring you in. If you could identify yourself and let us know what's on your mind.
Hi, this is Jean Cahill, 1 Thayer Street. Can you hear me?
We do.
Oh, perfect. I organized the Sustainable Northborough Citizens Group, and we recently submitted a request to the Select Board to form a town climate and clean energy focused advisory group. The work of this group could be to study, recommend measures for the town to achieve state climate change mitigation goals, and while helping the town to benefit from public procurement incentives and deliver in the process, deliver municipal financial savings. I'm thrilled that this regional school district will expand the lease of solar panel arrays across Northborough and Southborough schools. These projects are projected to save taxpayers millions of dollars on electric costs over their 25-year lifespan. The town would also benefit from more direct purchase of solar panel arrays for other municipal buildings, such as the Senior Center and DPW. And purchasing a town-owned solar installation would pay for itself, then yield a significant return on investment over the system life. So this is the kind of work that we would like to see a town committee focused on, helping advise the town through and getting the best bang for our buck, as well as doing good services for the climate. Another issue I'd like to draw your attention to of recent concern to Sustainable Northborough citizens is the Conservation Commission's plan to log trees from town-owned woodlands. The sale of timber from Edmund Hill Woods and Mount Pisgah is intended to pay for needed work. This includes control of invasive plants and removing trees that border on residential properties. Our sustainable group, citizens group, has sent comments to the town conservation agent, Concom, Conservation Commission, requesting that we undertake more thorough planning, be open to community engagement, and scope project costs before they commit us to a forestry services contract. This proposed thinning and log removal work may actually worsen conditions. This is a concern of ours, that it could worsen conditions favoring what is already an extensive encroachment of invasive plants on Edmund Hill Woods. By these plants, I mean vines, shrubs, ground covers that have escaped cultivation, they colonize disturbed soil, and they outcompete native vegetation that feeds our wildlife. These species thrive in opened areas that have been disturbed and along fragmented wooded margins. So this is a concern of ours, that we really do this right. And currently our state is undergoing a revision of forestry management guidelines, and in the recognition that forests are climate solutions. As this policy is undergoing development, the state has actually instituted a moratorium on cutting trees on state lands. So given our lack of understanding of forestry management and restoration strategies that best fit our town's needs, we are requesting that the Concom desist from signing a contract to inventory and remove trees from town woods at this juncture. Instead, we propose to use the coming months to meet with town land stakeholders, scope invasive plant removal costs, and learn about climate solution strategies that are being developed by the Massachusetts Energy and Environmental Affairs Office. From the Brigham Cemetery experience, we've all witnessed how much disturbance and unintended loss of mature trees occurred, even in an area that has roadway access and is relatively open for logging operations. We need to know that our town lands, the work done on it will be done properly, with fiscal control, with community input, informed participation, and appropriate oversight. This will help us to ensure that this laudable objective of improving our forest health is actually going to be successful. So thank you so much for listening to my comments, and I appreciate just your acknowledgement and knowing that this is happening. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jean. Sustainability Committee is something that we've talked about informally a couple of times before, and is one of those things that we had to get a town administrator in place before we started to look at that. And I think we should seriously consider that, sometime in the coming months. See what it'll take to get that started, look at models from other towns. And regarding the other, I hate to say it, the last time I talked to Craig Cox was about the issue that that you brought up about the land clearing. He and I talked about that not too long ago. I don't know that much about the details. I don't know if any of the board members do, but I'd suggest maybe get in touch with Tim in our administration office and send him your thoughts, and he can work with the staff that works with Concom to see what the best course of action is there. Thank you, Jean. Oh, sorry, Julianne, go ahead.
Can I just add something to Jean's statements? First of all, Jean, could you email us the information that you just verbally conveyed to us? And secondly, Jean and I both attended a legislative seminar from the CMRPC about some possible solutions coming through the legislature about waste management. And this is just another topic that I think a sustainability committee could address and help us, save money, do things right, and help the planet. So just wanted to put my pitch in there.
Thank you, Julianne. All right. Why don't we move on? I don't see any other hands up for public comment. Going once, going twice. All right, we will move along to approval of meeting minutes. We have several sets of meeting minutes. My hope is we can dispense with them with one motion, unless anyone has any particular edits.
Would you like a motion?
I would love a motion, yes.
I move the board vote to approve the following meeting minutes. October 19th, 2023 as presented. November 15th, 2023 as presented. November 16th, 2023 as presented. November 20th, 2023 as presented. December 4th, 2023 as presented. December 8th, 2023 as presented. December 11th, 2023 as presented.
Second.
All right. Motion's been made by Julianne, seconded by Kristen. Any other discussion?
Just one little thing. I think I emailed Diane and Linda about the November 20th. There was just a mistake about one of the scout troops. It said Girl Scout Troop 101 and it's just Scout Troop because they're not Girl Scouts. Anyway, but I did email them. So that should just be as amended instead of as presented, I think, right?
Mhm.
Everyone's good with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? All those in favor, Julianne,
Aye.
Laura,
Aye.
Kristen,
Hi.
Lisa.
I,
I also vote aye. Vote is unanimous in favor. Meeting minutes are approved. Thank you very much to everyone who helped us get caught up on those. We've had a lot of meetings lately, which is why we had a lot of meeting minutes. Next on our agenda is we have a public hearing, which I will open the public hearing to consider an application by Rancho Corona Incorporated, DBA Rancho Corona, to alter the premises located at 290 West Main Street, where an all-alcoholic beverage restaurant license is in effect. And we have someone to bring in. I'll take care of that. Excellent. And if you could unmute and turn on your camera if you'd like. You're still muted.
Hello.
Hi there. How are you?
Very good.
Welcome to the select board meeting. If you could identify yourselves and I assume you're here from Rancho Corona, and tell us what you'd like to do.
Yes, well, we our new extension is, I think it's 85% done. We're just waiting for the for this meeting to see what's next step, right? To continue.
Okay, so you're the owners, purveyors
Yes.
of Rancho Corona. And so understanding from your application that the business immediately next to yours closed and you're taking over that space to expand your restaurant.
Yeah.
And you have an all-alcoholic license already, but because you are expanding or significantly changing the footprint, you need to come back for the okay from the select board.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. And could I have your names just for our meeting minutes?
Nombre.
José Bracamontes.
And Miguel.
Jose and Miguel, thank you. Welcome very much. Let's see, members of the board, any questions? Julianne?
We're not giving a new license. We're just acknowledging that it's a little bit of an expansion.
Yeah, it's an expansion. Yeah.
Okay. And congratulations to you. That business is good and you're expanding.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Lisa first and then Laura.
I see that you're gonna have an additional bar area with 12 chairs and then 11 tables. Is it gonna be a separate bar area now where you had the restaurant and the bar together? Are you looking to just separate the two areas, or are you just extending your bar area into a longer?
Yeah, just extending. You know, our plan is using just like the weekends when it's more busy. Yeah.
So you just open up the other side, or you're just gonna make it bigger and hope that a lot more people are coming?
Yeah, well, because on the weekends it's a lot of waiting. The people wait a lot, so the plan is open like Tuesday to Sunday when it's the most busy days in the week. Yeah, so that's why when I open the bar, yeah,
Parques privados.
for like private parties and big groups. Yeah.
Oh, so, okay, so it's probably a little bit like your restaurant across the way too, not yours, but Romaine's does the same thing, I think. All right, that's it. Thank you.
Laura.
Thank you.
I am one of those people that's waited in line, so I'm very happy that you will have additional seating, and congratulations on this addition. And Lisa, when you get over there, there's a beautiful doorway that they've created so that, because I saw it before it opened, they've been working on this for a while. So it's really great job. My only question is the restaurant that was previously there, they had, I think, a beer and wine, or they had a license. Does that come back to the town now? Because, okay,
Yes,
thank you.
you're
That was
welcome.
my only question.
It was actually my question. I don't remember, what was the restaurant that was there before?
It was
It
the
was-
sushi place.
Yes.
Yeah, it was Korean barbecue.
Okay.
Oh.
And he closed and returned his license.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions from the board? I assume that the police department it doesn't need to do the thorough review because they already had a license, but is there anything? I assume everything is in good order, Diane, as the
Yes,
person that
It
oversees.
is.
Yeah. We frequently have a member of the police department with us for this, but no one's here, so I'm asking you.
Okay.
Okay. This is a public hearing. If there is any member of the audience that wishes to offer input or has any questions, if you could raise your virtual hands, and I'd be happy to recognize you. I'm not seeing anyone. I'll give it another moment just in case. Going once, going twice. Okay. I think that concludes everything we have to do for the public hearing. I will first entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Julianne, seconded by Lisa to close the public hearing. Any other discussion? All those in favor, Julianne?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Vote is unanimous in favor. Public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion on the application?
Mr. Chair, I move the board vote to approve the application as submitted by Rancho Corona, Inc., DBA Rancho Corona, to alter the premises of the all alcoholic beverages license at 290 West Main Street with the condition that the licensee receive satisfactory inspections by the Building, Fire, and Health Departments.
Second.
Motion made by Laura, seconded by Julianne. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Laura?
Aye.
Julianne?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Vote is unanimous in favor. Congratulations and continued best success with the expanded business.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank
As
you.
well. Happy
Bye-bye.
holiday.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Excellent. Next up, we have DPW Director Scott Charpentier and Facilities Manager Sean Thompson to talk about 4 West Main Street. We have Scott. Oh, Scott, you don't have to raise your hand. I know to bring in panelist, and Sean I'll bring in too. Hey, Scott.
Got to raise my hand. That was fun.
I usually know to bring you, especially when your name is in the agenda. I hopefully will not forget to bring you in, but can't hurt. Hey, Sean.
Hey, how's it going?
Very good. Well, welcome. So tell us what you've learned thus far about 4 West Main. So for the benefit of the public, 4 West Main is the old town hall, which the town took ownership of. I think it was maybe just after July 4th. This past summer, and so we've owned it for a little while. Oh, Kristen?
Okay, I'm just going to correct you
Yes.
with Norm Corbin in mind. He wrote to us not too long ago to remind us that 4 West Main Street, the building that is there right now, was never the town hall, right? It's
Yes.
a replica of
The
the
replica.
that
Everyone refers to it as the old town hall, but you're absolutely correct. That building was never the town hall.
Right. So I do read the email. Okay.
Thanks, Kristen. All right.
I'll,
So tell us what you've learned thus far.
I'll give you a quick bio and a summary of the memorandum you have and what we're doing here this evening. And then after that, Sean, if you want to go through in a somewhat of a broad brush fashion on what we found in the building. So as indicated, we are the now proud re-owners of 4 West Main Street. We've gone through that building and had a condition assessment done on it, which is on the agenda for the next item, I believe. There are certain operating expenses associated with all buildings. This one has several that were unknown prior to acquisition. We have insurance costs, different carrying costs associated with facilities and utilities, maintenance costs. Everybody's aware of, the fact that things break when you don't expect it. And this building has some floors that have been vacant for a number of years. That certainly doesn't lend itself well to consistent use and maintenance of those floors. So what we have in your packet is a memorandum outlining the budget components. And what I was looking for this evening was to discuss how the board thought would be the best way to approach paying for and budgeting for 4 West Main Street in FY24 and FY25. So the projected expenses in FY24 are a little over $90,000. The biggest piece of that you'll see is the insurance. There is an insurance value of cost of almost $42,000. So we expect, again, a little over $90,000 in FY24. That has not been budgeted for. We were not able to obtain quotes for a lot of these services prior to taking ownership. We didn't have rights to go in there. In order to get insurance on a building, you need to provide the insurance company with a lot of information that we did not have. It was under another ownership. When we take out some of the initial repair costs that we needed to do to bring the building up to operational standards, FY25's expected expenditures is $85,000. We don't have that in the FY25 budget because we don't have an FY25 budget yet. It's still in the works. There are some revenue streams associated with 4 West Main Street. Those are also unknown. Currently, the lease for the tenant on the first floor of the dentist is still under negotiations, as far as I know. And there are cellular communication devices on the roof. We do not have those leases ironed out with the cellular providers. Before the property came back to the town, a lot of information was requested of the prior owner. We asked for a year of utility bills. We asked for their insurance bill. We asked for copies of leases. We asked for agreements that they currently had with service providers, elevator techs, fire alarm companies, things like that. We didn't receive much of anything. We were in a lot of transition here. As you know, the town administrator's office was transitioning pretty substantially. Regardless of that, we did not get what we'd asked for from the prior owner, which hand-tied us a bit in the ownership transition. So, Sean, if you want to go through a little bit on what we found as far as needs go, and if the board has any questions afterwards, we're happy to answer them.
Yeah, so the main thing with taking over the building was trying to just familiarize yourself with where we stood with the mechanical systems and just general safe operation year round, make sure it remains climate controlled and safe for the one tenant that we have. We spent about $10,000, just under, getting all the heating and air conditioning back up and operational. There was 5 or 6 different furnaces or boilers that needed repair. And then we recently had the elevator inspection this past November, which it failed. So we're looking at, we haven't executed it yet, but we're looking at a $4,000 to $5,000 repair on the elevator system to get that back up and running. Talking with the building department, it's not necessary to do right at this moment because our only occupant is the dentist, which occupies the first floor and has no access to the rest of the building. But something definitely worth exploring, especially as we look to potentially reuse the building in the future. It's been a challenge switching over the utility bills because we didn't receive anything from the previous owner. So we've been working with National Grid. We finally just got that squared away like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So that's where those utility numbers come from. We have 5 months of bills since we took the building over, so we just projected out based on those costs what we expect to spend the rest of the fiscal year. Other than that, the building is in a lot better shape than I expected it to be for a building that's been vacant for that long. I know you guys all walked through it with us one day, and I think we could all agree that given the fact that it's been largely vacant for a substantial period of time, it's in pretty good condition, and we'd like to keep it that way. So that's what some of those costs are for going forward, is to make sure that we have enough funds to maintain the building so it doesn't end up in disrepair as we determine what the best use for is it going forward.
One of the primary reasons for these early expenditures for repairing a lot of mechanical components is keeping the upper floor spaces conditioned. We see what happens to buildings when they're not conditioned. Either things freeze or you get an overburden of moisture and mold, and that just grows into a very costly remediation scenario. So while the building is still in relatively good shape, it's important to keep it in good shape. One of the motivating factors, I think, of getting the elevator fixed and the upstairs spaces conditioned well also is the allowance of others to go up there. So we're going to have some architects working for us doing some space studies on the town office feasibility study. Well, they need to get up there. Without an adequate and safe means of egress with an elevator, they're not allowed to. The only folks up there that are allowed are emergency service personnel and staff who are going up there to service the building. So people will be accessing the upper floors. It's important that they're lighted, heated, cooled, conditioned, and safe with an elevator. We did do some exterior improvements as far as accessibility goes, remove some tripping hazards. What has not been, I don't believe, Sean, has anybody gone up on the roof yet? Inspect the roof?
No, nobody's been up on the roof yet. Outside of the facility condition assessment team, nobody's been on the roof. There are no signs of leaks, but as mentioned in the study, which we'll cover, the roof is older. So it's definitely going to be something we need to address. We did also have to switch the fire alarm system over to the town, do a fire alarm inspection, sprinkler inspection, extinguisher inspection, because those hadn't been done for almost 3 years. So we were delinquent on a lot of that stuff as well, taking over the building. So as it being life safety, it's not something we could hold off on now that we're liable for any issues. So that was something we took care of straight away.
Questions from the board? I think I saw Kristen's hand first and then Julianne.
So, thanks, Mitch. So, Scott, and Sean, so the town hall feasibility study, the architects, they can't go up there until we fix the elevator. Is that what you said? Or
Correct. That's correct.
okay.
Yeah, we ran the we discussed this with the code enforcement officer, building inspector, as well as the fire department. And that was the code and life safety responses.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah. So that's a high priority meeting for that whole committee. I think they would agree. Thank you.
Julianne?
So first of all, I want to say thank you for that great summary and for being proactive with this building. This is vitally important, and I really appreciate what you've done so far. So the things that you've done so far, how have those bills been paid?
We have them. I'm sorry, go ahead, Sean.
I've just been paying them out of the facility's operating budget for the time being. Like when we put together the facilities budget, we always build in for unexpected breakdowns of mechanical equipment, because again, as we'll cover in the facilities condition assessment, a lot of the mechanical systems in the building are older. So fortunately, we haven't had any major breakdowns this year. Like in years past, we had the boilers go at town hall where that money would cover that. So that's what we've used to this point, but we're still only halfway through the fiscal year. So that's why we're trying to explore options in the event that something major comes up. We're prepared for for those other things.
Our facilities operating budget includes $30,000 worth for allocated toward miscellaneous repairs. We're at $66,000 worth of expenditures thus far in FY24 for 4 West Main Street, which means that budget will be overrun if we continue down this path for through the end of fiscal year FY24. One of the topics I wanted the board to consider tonight and Tim to weigh in on is the mechanism by which these bills get paid in FY24 and how we want to handle 25. It's a large, adding a $85,000 line item for 4 West Main Street in FY25. That's a large financial impact on an operating budget. That's a big number. Typically you've seen when we add staff, we'll often add a staff member halfway through a fiscal year. So you feel the 50% labor impact 1 year and then another 50 the next year, and it eases it into the budget. That was an option that I was thinking about, but again, we're just here to start the discussion, I guess.
All right. I think for FY25, it should be somewhere in the budget, whether it be part of DPW budget, whether it be some separate line item, given that we don't know the long-term disposition and use of 4 West Main. I'll trust Tim to work that out as far as how that gets allocated, but I think it should be somewhere in the town's operating budget. I don't expect you to come up with the $80,000 out of your existing budget because when the FY24 budget was put together, we did not own 4 West Main, so you didn't allocate for it. So I can appreciate that, particularly FY24 expenses. We kind of knew something was coming, but we didn't know what it would be. The two possible in normal years, the most likely fund for this would be the reserve fund. That the reserve fund exists. I think we put $175,000 in every year, and that's there for unanticipated expenses, which this would qualify as. We also have ARPA, which is a unique, one time over a period of a few years funding source. I would look to Tim for a recommendation as to how to fund this between those two options. And I will not ask him tonight to do that, given that, Tim, this is your first public meeting with us. So I think that should be, something we should figure out pretty soon. Tim, if you want to meet with the Appropriations Committee to discuss the possibility of using reserve fund, however you want to do that, and come back to us and let us know what the most appropriate source is. I think the board will support that.
With any luck, we won't have to touch it for snow and ice.
Right.
Fingers crossed.
Now that you said it, Scott, anybody have any other thoughts on the funding source question, which we're not being asked to decide tonight? I know it was on the agenda, but it didn't make it that far. Tim, I don't know if you have anything that you wanted to offer.
Just two things. The lease, when negotiating, is about a $36,000 annual revenue stream. We got to get a handle on the cell towers that are on the roof. I don't know what those revenue streams yield, but we have some offsetting revenue. It's just a long-term use. I don't want to mislead anyone and get into a long-term lease, and then we decide to use it for a different. So we almost have to decide what we're going to do, because ultimately, you take a building, we would go to bid, we would bid it out for its highest and best use to one or multiple bidders for different spaces. And I've done that before, but if we want to use it, obviously, for other municipal purposes, we don't want to go through that process. But that would be one way to offset any costs. If we want to just hold it out in 25, maybe just a separate warrant article that's funded both by general appropriation and a revolving fund from the revenue that the building generates. That might be an option. And then you can hold that out and not just have it in the operating budget if you were to do something different with it.
That's a good idea, using a revolving fund. I'll ask Kristen if you happen to know, as our member on the town office's feasibility study committee, is there a time frame? And I know you've just started the work. Is there a rough time frame as far as when you think that committee would make a determination as far as a preferred location for future town hall use? And if you don't know, that's okay too.
Yeah, no, it'll be a while. I don't think I can answer that.
Yeah, my gut feeling is it'll probably be 8 months to a year.
Yeah.
Is there a way to expedite that?
I mean, it could be faster. Like, I think we would all like it to be faster. But right now, Scott, do we even have another meeting on the schedule for January?
The status with the project is we're currently putting the contracts together with the selected architect.
Okay.
Once those contract negotiations are complete, we'll have another meeting with the committee. And that meeting is where we kind of lay out the schedule, the public involvement, that process. So, in another 3 weeks or 4 weeks, considering the holidays, we'll have a better handle by the end of January on what the schedule looks like. And to Julianne's point, if it can be expedited to get things ironed out by summertime, that'd be fantastic. That would be wonderful.
Yeah. Like, I think everybody on the committee would like that. And it's a very good, very proactive committee. And I think the architects we chose were also willing to work with whatever schedule like we set up for them. I believe they were the ones that said that we work with your schedule.
Mhm.
So hopefully, fingers crossed. Yeah, quick.
Great. Anybody else have any questions? Lisa.
I just have a couple questions for Sean. You said you have been up on the roof. You have not been up on the roof, but there doesn't leaks from the roof.
So I have not been on the roof personally, but the team that did the facilities condition assessment was up on the roof for us. So they've taken note of condition of the roof, systems on the roof, and it's all covered in the report.
So I noticed, and I've had a couple people say something to me about what looks to be a leak that's starting from the roof and coming down in the front the southeast corner and the northeast corner, where it seems to be at the top, and it looks, the bricks or the mortar is dark, where you can see some sort of water intrusion. So I'd like to know if we could get out there and look at that and see what's causing that to happen on both corners.
We can get somebody to take a look at that. There's definitely some signs of water getting behind the brick on the building. I mean, as you can tell just from looking at the building from the street, it hasn't been maintained properly. All the wood and trim are deteriorated as well. It's part of a larger process with the building. Again, trying to determine what we want to do long term and how much money we want to invest as a town into it up front. But yes, the exterior of the building definitely needs some attention.
The paint. We know we had our team hung some Christmas wreaths up there last week in order to dress the town up a little bit, and noticed a couple of things. One of which is, I think it's the center door. The handle has been broken, so it's just kind of laying. It's not screwed in anymore to the door. It's laying on to the corner. That ought to be checked too, because we have a lot of young people that go back and forth from CVS to the gas station. And
yeah, so as part of the takeover, we had the whole building rekeyed. So all the doors are locked and secured, but yeah, the hardware is on its last leg. But we just wanted to make sure that the building was secured and couldn't be opened.
okay,
But I'll take a look at that for you.
that's the centerpiece. And I guess that would be my first question. So we did ride on the elevator when we toured the building. What happened?
So we had it has to be inspected annually. It was inspected in November, and they found water in the pit, which has since been removed. They had turned the elevator off because of the water in there could potentially cause additional damage to the equipment inside the pit. And then they also found deficiencies, which get the elevator not up to code. So there are just some repairs over time. The elevator code changes. You need to make some repairs or some modifications and upgrades to meet the current code. And that's where we are with that. So we need about, I think it's like $4,850 worth of repairs to get it back up to code so that they will then turn it back on for us.
Oh, so it was turned off in November? No, it wasn't turned off in November for us to ride in June or May.
I think he's talking about last month.
Yeah, last month. So we rode in June, it got inspected in November, it's been off for a few weeks now.
All right. All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Lisa. Julianne?
So it's about $5,000 to repair the elevator, right?
Correct.
A little less. And in order to have the architect in, this has to be fixed. How quickly can you do that?
So the elevator company's ready to do the work whenever we give them the okay. It's just a matter of finding out if this is something we wanted to do. So we were just holding off till we had a chance to speak with you guys, figure out a funding source, determine if it is something we did or didn't want to do. We didn't find out from the code enforcement officer that the architects couldn't go into the building until a couple days ago. So that kind of makes it a more pressing issue. Up until that point, it was kind of just up in the air.
Could the architects use stairs?
I think it's an accessibility thing. If we're going to allow them in the building, like people that aren't employed by the town or emergency services, then it needs to be considered accessible to all. That was my understanding of the email. I could be wrong though.
Yeah, our building inspector is also our architectural access board liaison, so he's familiar with the AAB regulations, and if one can go up, all should go up, I guess, is the approach.
Yeah, certainly for regular use, but architects go into buildings that aren't fully accessible for a number of reasons. But we need to get it fixed no matter what. So my suggestion, based upon my conversation earlier today with Tim, was there isn't a request tonight to fund anything. Would be for Tim to come back to us at a meeting, probably our next meeting, with a specific request for a dollar amount and a funding source if it's for us. If Tim thinks that it should go before the appropriations committee for a reserve fund transfer, then that's their business. Lisa,
can we do that before the end of the year, Tim? So that you can go in there and we can start having the people do what they need to in there?
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously new to me. I don't even have a P&L for the building. We got pieces of it tonight. I think as soon as we can execute the contract, we want to ride the clutch a little bit, make sure we know when the architects can get in there and for what purpose. And I think we just fix the elevator as soon as we can. So I don't think there's a funding requirement or ask tonight. We'll just move forward on that one piece. If the architects need that fixed to go in, we'll do that. I guess we need to think of a holistic approach in terms of what do we think the use will be? Or are we going to simply wait for the architects and the committee? Or will they work to eliminate that site so we can do something else with it if it wasn't to be a municipal use?
Yeah, I think it's probably a long and complicated question. There's the possibility of it being town offices. I know the master plan implementation committee has some thoughts on using it for commercial purposes. There may be other ideas or a hybrid of the two. So there's a lot to figure out. It's a very nice, very large building that we need to figure out, and that's not going to be easy to do.
Scott, we'll talk tomorrow. Let's just get them in there to get that elevator fixed.
Yep, we'll do.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for the update there. That's been something I've been looking forward to for a while. Next on our agenda, hey, it's Scott and Sean again. The facilities condition assessment report, which we talked about a while ago, and we're very happy to have you here present that to us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I'll set the table relatively quickly, and Sean will get a little more into the depth of it. So we appreciate the support of the board in funding the facility condition assessment. It included our 7 substantial buildings, I guess you could say: a town hall, the highway garage, fire, police, library, senior center, and 4 West Main Street. What the facility condition assessment does is it does exactly what it says. It goes through all the facilities, assesses everything there, provides a couple very valuable tools. For me, from a department head perspective, it tells me what the costs are, what the liabilities are, what in what shape everything is in. From more of an operational perspective, and for Sean, it provides detailed information on every piece of equipment, what it is, who made it, when it was made, what its maintenance requirements are, what its replacement cost is, what its life expectancy is, and where is it on that life curve. So in that latter portion of it is driven through a pretty substantial database. You'll see at the bottom of the cover memorandum, there are 2 cost columns. One is cost needs associated with the facility condition assessment. It should be noted that there is a math error on that. The total on it is about $2 million short. The Old Town Hall line of 1.996 million was excluded from that math. So instead of 4.8, it's 6.8. Regardless, that's everything. Bring everything back up to what it should be, replace what needs to be replaced, be done with it. The other column you see is from the self-evaluation and transition plan. We discussed that at a prior meeting. We hired a disability and accessibility consultant to review all these same properties, with the exception of 4 West Main Street. They didn't have access at that point. And that's a total of those deficiencies for the buildings for ADA compliance. It's important to understand that these numbers are not, you need to fix this tomorrow because it's going to break. These are, walk through your house, fix everything. That light switch is loose, fix it. There's chip on the wall, paint it. There's the, banister's loose, replace it. That's what these numbers are. So they should be taken with a grain of rock salt, I guess. But the details of the report provides us the tools we need to get our hands around, get a hand around what exactly is needed with our facilities and systems. Sean, do you want to go into a little more detail about the process and what we got?
Well, yeah, and so just a couple more things to kind of recap. So along with all the stuff Scott was talking about, it provides us with a software as well. So the software is going to allow the different directors at the buildings to put in work orders as they see things. It will allow us to track what we're doing. When they went through, they tagged every piece of equipment that they looked at. So now as you look at the thing, you're going to see police station, for example, all of their HVAC systems are past their useful life. Does that mean we have to replace them all today? No. But as we're getting them serviced, we can scan the barcode on each particular item. At the end of the year, I can run a report and say, okay, this particular air handler, I've spent 15 grand on. It's 20 grand to get a new one. Makes sense to replace that one before the other one that's equally as old, but we haven't made any repairs to it yet this year. So it helps us to make informed decisions as we try to bite into that $6.8 million. So that's one of the other great things about it. It also provides us with a preventive maintenance program based on manufacturer specs, so we can maintain the existing equipment and new equipment as it comes online the way it's supposed to be, so it gives you a longer shelf. It's just like your car. They give you all those recommended appointments you're supposed to go to that nobody does, but if you do, your car is going to last a heck of a lot longer. So the idea is now, as we bring new equipment online, we can now maintain it longer and more appropriate, so we don't end up in a situation where we are $6.8 million in the hole trying to dig ourselves out. But they went through each part of the building. They gave everything a rating. from good to fair to poor to critical. So as you look at the different aspects of the report, you're going to see we're, again, in the lower end on a lot of that, but we kind of knew that going into the report, going into having them do the assessment, because we haven't had a facilities department. We haven't had people running and maintaining the stuff for us. And then they gave us a capital plan. So they broke down based on what they see, how we should approach each different building and each system in each building. And then they looked at the building facade, the roofs, the parking lots, and just give you recommendations on, okay, this is supposed to last 20 years, you're 30 years in, this should be at the top of your priorities. So just a lot of helpful, useful information to allow us to project out what our needs are per building in the future.
Something that proved to be beneficial timing wise is our town office feasibility study consultant. They have it all. I mean, every mechanical, electrical, plumbing system, roof, window, floor, it's all in there. Existing town hall and 4 West Main Street are 2 of the buildings that are being considered. That's all in there. You know, we had a scoping meeting with them and shared all that with them and said, my goodness, this completely changes what I expected some of my reviewing engineers to have to do. Thank you. And there can be a back and forth with that architect's selection to the accessibility consultant who did the self-evaluation transition plan. So it's not often in municipal employment you can say this, but it seems like timing is working out well.
Yay.
Fantastic.
Good, thank you. Any questions from the board? Kristen?
I just have a comment. So I'm really glad that you brought this to us, Scott and Sean. This the way that it just seems a more guaranteed way to keep all the facilities more efficient and just like you said, Sean, just fix the one that needs to be fixed and not everything, right? It's just a really smart way of doing things. So I really appreciate that you went to the effort of finding this method and hiring these people. It was really smart and it's great. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's a common practice in the facilities industry. It's just we were working from behind.
Yeah.
But it again, it helps you because maintenance in general is always the first place people or businesses look to cut money when they're trying to save. So having the proper information to make the educated decisions is what's going to help us going forward. And it provides us evidence. It's not just me subjectively being like, I know this is old, let's replace it. It's, look, we've spent $10,000 on this in the last 3 months. It's time.
Yeah.
So it just helps us to make educated decisions.
Yeah, it helps us, or it helps you help us make sure that we're taking care of the taxpayers' money too, I think.
Correct.
Yeah.
Julianne?
So did Alpha, that's the company that you used, right?
Yeah, Alpha Facility Solutions is the firm that did the assessment.
So did they, I mean, I read the report, but I didn't see anywhere where they said, you better do this first and give you a list of 100 things.
So they don't do that. What they do is they rate everything for you. So they're going to give it a ranking on, like, it's a chart based on industry standards. And so they're going to, based on where it's ranked, you as the consumer decide where you're going to spend your money. But they're just saying, this is in this condition, this is in this condition, this is in this condition. Which one do you want to prioritize? Does that make sense?
Yep. And I have just one more quick question. On page 63, the police station report.
Yep.
Exterior enclosure, it says for 2023 and on, $0. Is that because we have already allocated money for?
Yeah, so we had talked to them already about the fact that we were planning on redoing the exterior of the building when they were doing the assessment. Because
Okay.
we had already been in the works with trying to get it painted and talking over the different options versus, because there's a lot of rotted clapboard and siding on the side of that building. So I had explained to them we had already allocated $130,000 and we were planning on doing additional surveying to determine what the most cost-effective approach would be for the exterior of the building.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Lisa.
A couple of questions. I'm gonna piggyback on Julianne's question. So we went to town meeting already. And at town meeting, they allocated money to have the building painted and repaired certain pieces that were already in the quote. And that money was allocated and it was supposed to be done by June.
Yeah, so the reason why we didn't do it is because the condition of the clapboard was in much worse condition than we expected. So meeting with architect and a couple different painting companies as we started to go through the process, they were saying that the clapboard is in such poor condition that you would have to be repainting the building every 2 to 3 years because it's not going to hold the paint. There's nails popping, so we'd have to be retacking them in or replacing boards. Almost all the trim around the entire building needs to be replaced. So you're looking at, I don't know, probably 80,000 plus just in materials, let alone labor. And we just didn't have the money allocated. So I talked with Scott and we decided that it would be best to get a scope for replacing in kind, replacing with vinyl, and bidding that out to get an actual number so we're not spending the taxpayers' money every 2 years painting the exterior of the building.
So,
go ahead, Scott. Sorry.
I'm sorry. So the original appropriation at town meeting out of capital, $70,000, was based on a quote that we received from a painting company. Painting company came by, gave us a quote. There was a little over $60,000. We added a 10% contingency to it. It went through the process. It got approved at town meeting. We had an architect come out because we have to bid this out. We wanted him to put together a quick technical specification that says, here's how you paint. Here's how you replace the trim. I'm not a painter, just tech specs. And we were going to do the bidding process ourselves. The architect came out, looked at it, said, you can't just paint this. And it follows up exactly what Sean said. The clapboard is far too gone. You need to reconsider what your alternatives. So Sean and I talked. We spoke to the interim town administrator. Said, well, let's do a more programmatic approach. Let's hire an architect to come in and put together the 2 scopes of work, 2 cost estimates for either paint and clapboard replacement or vinyl siding. Determine which one is the most cost effective. Go through the funding program process through financial planning, and go back to town meeting for the supplemental funding. Oh, my screen just all moved. There you are. So that was the process. One of the challenges with smaller projects like this is finding the funds early on for the design piece. If this was a large, $1 million project, $800,000 project, you get $70,000-$80,000 for an engineer. He comes out, does the design work. Then you go to town meeting with an actual construction cost estimate. That wasn't this. That was a call in a painting company saying, come on by, prevailing wage, what's the number? And they did, and we thought we were conservative and healthy. And then when you get an architect up there who knows what he's doing and looks at it in detail and says, you can't paint this. You're going to be doing this every 3 to 5 years. That's when we put the brakes on it. Said, we can't do that. You can't spend $70,000 every 5 years on a paint job. Let's figure out how to do it right and do it once. So that's how we got to where we are today.
But at the time it came through, I mean, this was prior to losing our long-term town administrator. So at that time that money was brought to town meeting and that quote and everything were brought to town meeting, nobody knew that this was in the condition that was in?
No,
Hmm.
nobody
And
climbed
we-
the ladder and looked at it in detail. No.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously knew it was in need of paint. I mean, everybody knows that. It looks like it's been in need of paint for quite some time. We just didn't know the extent of the damage to the clapboard. That's where the cost significantly goes up.
All right, I'm just gonna go on to my couple of the questions that I had. I'm looking at the assessment, the facilities assessment, and just on a couple of pages. When I see the domestic water distribution system is beyond its recommended useful life, could you explain that? What do they mean by that?
So that's just the water pipes that go through your house. So
Right?
like the copper has an expected life. Same with the solder joints that connect the pipes. So what they're telling you is you're at greater risk for pipe bursts at this point in time based on the age of the building and the pipes that run through the building.
So were they recommending you take the copper pipes out and go with PEX, or what's that all about?
I mean, that would be an option we consider. They're just, again, it's just informational. They're telling you this is past where it should be. How do you want to approach addressing this concern? If we're looking at the list of concerns, that's probably lower on my list of concerns as far as it goes, because yes, it's past its useful life, but that stuff also lasts a good amount of time. Like, whereas, and you can continue to function in the building if you have a small break here or there, whereas if you're losing an entire mechanical system, that more interrupts your daily operations, if
Okay.
that makes sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, my house is 100 years old and I've got copper and I've got some PEX, but I like my copper.
I'm willing
Oh,
to
I
bet your
agree.
copper's well past its useful life, but it's going to last a lot longer.
So, but it's lasted a long time. I'm just as happy to keep.
Right.
But I was like, what, are you gonna take the copper out and put PEX in? That's crazy. Somebody hits PEX with a nail, guess what? You gotta go replace the PEX. Okay, and then the other question I had, again, it gets back to 4 West, is that on the exterior enclosure, says, the slate shingle roof covering was beyond its recommended useful life, which again, slate lasts forever. But it says a single ply membrane roof was in poor condition due to observed evidence of leaking.
So past leaking, like, so it's shown evidence of leaks in the past. There's no active leaks in the building, but it's got patches all over the roof in different areas, is the way he explained it to me when I asked, because I had the same question. I was like, what do you mean leaks? Because I don't see any water down here, and water's a serious issue. And he was like, no, there's just significant patching done on the roof membrane itself.
Okay, thank you. Because I was like, no, not again.
Yeah, exactly.
Water's coming in and we are just watching it fade away.
No.
All right. So basically what you've given us is, it's just an overview of what you've given us. What you have to your computer systems and everything that you've talked about is pretty much on a computer system as opposed to in this kind of a manual.
Yeah, so we're still building it out. This is just the report. The findings from the report, the different mechanical systems, the PM schedule, all the work orders will get built into the software system. So I'm in the process of working with them. We should be online with that probably end of January, the way the schedule is laid out right now. And then at that point, I can walk whomever wants to see through whatever they want to look at. But right now, because like some of the PM programs, for example, they're offering, it's stuff that we don't do, like the defibrillators. I don't need that in my software system. That gets handled by the fire department. So I have to go through all the different systems in each building and decide which programs we want in the software, which we don't. They still stay there stored and we can activate them at any point, but we don't need to see those monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, whatever it is, because we're not handling them as a staff. Those are addressed by either the fire department or a third party.
And then, because it's a software situation, do you have a membership that you have to belong to keep using this, correct?
Yeah, so when we went for the original allocation, we got money for the condition assessment and 3 years of the software. So we're covered for the next 3 years.
Next 3 years.
That'll be built into the operating budget. It's not a very large annual subscription cost, but we'll build that into the budget.
Yep.
All right. And last question, I know everybody wants to get going on this. It had current replacement values for all these buildings. Is that if it was damage or like a, fire, earthquake type of thing, or what? How do they?
So that's just for the equipment at today's pricing. It doesn't include labor. It doesn't include any design fees. It certainly doesn't include prevailing wage. It's just today, right now, if you want to buy that piece of equipment, that's how much it costs.
But I
So
mean,
like for an air handler, it'd be like an air handler and an outside unit, I think they had is $15,000 combined. So that would be just to purchase the stuff, and then labor, any design fees, anything like that would be on top of that number. So they're just giving you a baseline number for you to have an idea of what it's going to cost. You can kind of prioritize your decision.
So right now the fire station has got 1,900,000 and 910. What would that figure mean? There's no like.
So if you look in the actual report itself, I think it's in the appendices portion of it. It breaks down each building by year. So like 2028, they recommend you do this. 2029, they recommend you do this. And so each thing falls in that category. Oh, no, it's in the actual building itself. So like if you look, where's fire station? Sorry, here we go. So the fire station. So they're saying a new roof is $100,000. Plumbing to replace the distribution systems, $45,000. To replace the sewer lines, $60,000. So that all those numbers added up is where you get to the 1.9 million.
Okay, so it would be what we would have to do if everything were fixed in that building today.
It would be $586,790 just in materials. Then you're looking at labor and any design fees.
Okay.
So the labor and soft costs were not, there was no detailed analysis on what those would be. It's not worth the effort at a budgetary level to do that. You add a multiplier, typically you double it on materials for labor on some things. Obviously it's more expensive to replace 50 feet of copper pipe behind a brick wall than it is 50 feet of copper pipe hanging in a basement. But at this level of detail, just something that's comparable, apples to apples, it's all that's needed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Scott.
Oh, I'm sorry, Julianne, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh.
So Sean, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you mentioned something about your list of priorities. Are you ready to share that, or?
Well, so for me, like it depends on what we're doing. So the fire station is lower on my priority list in general because of the way we're working through the process. So for me, until we determine whether or not we're keeping the fire station is a as needed basis. Then if you look at, say, the police station, there's no plans for that outside of keeping it the way it is. So for me, getting their mechanicals up to date, getting the exterior of the building straightened away, those are higher on my priorities. Town hall, kind of the same situation. Like we just redid the LED lighting upgrades at the senior center and the library because we know those are going to be long-term things. Here at the town offices, we could have done the same thing, But is it worth investing that money right now, knowing that we may or may not be leaving this building, or even if we're staying, it's going to be a complete gut rehab anyway. So why spend money and time there when we can spend it senior center, police station, library, things like that. Again, mechanical systems are, to me, very important because they are what keep in certain buildings the public, or in other buildings the employees, comfortable and able to do their jobs effectively and efficiently. So especially in the municipal world, like when I was in the private sector, it was a lot easier. If something broke, I could have it fixed by the end of the week. Here, because of mass general law, it slows things down exponentially. So you really need to stay ahead of those big ticket items, or you get stuck in a really uncomfortable place with a lot of people not too happy. I like when people are happy with me. I don't like when they're not.
I think you made a wise decision. Thank you.
You're welcome.
A question, Sean, you've been with us for a couple of years, and so you've been in all the buildings and you've had to deal with a lot of surprise repairs. This is probably a great gift of like a great base of knowledge to have. I'm curious if you had a gut feeling before receiving the report, and once you receive the report, do you think things are in better shape than you thought, or worse shape, or just kind of different?
I mean, I think for the most part, everything's right where I expected it to be. But to the point I made earlier, it's a lot easier for me to sit here with this document and say, here's what the problems is, and here's the industry facts and the numbers to back it up, versus me just coming to you guys and being like, I need $7 million to get the buildings up to where they need to be. You know what I mean? So this is something we have been working on since probably my third or fourth month in. It was just finding the funds, and getting everything together. So that's kind of why it took so long. But this is something I've been shooting for since I started.
I'm glad we've done this. It's good, Scott.
Yeah, I can attest to being glad we did this as well, Mr. Chairman. I didn't know what a facility condition assessment was when Sean came on board. I knew I had the facilities under me. I didn't know what to do with them. So there's no way we would be here today with this amount of data without Sean, shepherding the process forward. And I'm looking forward to seeing what these tools will do to help him and prevent the hair pulling and the running down the hallway that has been existing with him for a little while now. So I'm really happy he has what he needs to maintain our facilities.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much to both of you, particularly for Sean, for having this idea and spearheading this and making this happen. I know this will be useful. I'm sure this board and the appropriations and financial planning will be looking at for a long time.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. Okay. Next up on our agenda, we have discussion and possible vote to approve a contract between the town and police chief Brian Griffin, who we appointed at our last regular meeting. Tim, you've negotiated a contract, and I think we're ready to go. Is that correct, Tim?
Yeah, the board obviously, I was very diligent in selecting Brian, and I worked with him over the past week to get this ironed out. Legal counsel's reviewed it, and the board made a great decision. You've been thorough in the process, and I took you through all the notes and executive session for this 3-year contract. So I just want to get him in place with the ratified contract. So I'd ask the board if they would ratify his contract starting for January 1.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move the board vote to approve the contract between the town and Police Chief Brian Griffin.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Kristen, seconded. I'll give it to Laura, although I heard a lot of seconds all at the same time. That's excellent. Any questions or comments? I'll just say I'm happy to, obviously very happy to have this contract done, so Brian can officially become our police chief on January 1st. And that's great. I'll take this opportunity, and I think we all probably will during our reports, to thank outgoing and retiring Chief Bill Liver for many years helping us out. It'll be sad to lose him, but excellent to have Brian at the helm. I'm really excited about the transition. Any other comments or questions before we vote? All those in favor: Kristen,
Aye.
Laura,
Hi.
Lisa,
Aye.
Julianne.
Aye.
I also vote aye. Vote is unanimous in favor. We have a contract, and Tim, you've got your first new employee.
Yay.
But pretty good work for a first week.
All in a day's work. Thank you very much for
Great.
approving that.
Thank you. Next up is we have renewal of the select board's licenses for calendar year 2024. We had a big list pending our agenda. I don't think we have to go through anything individually unless a board member has a question. Lisa?
Just have one.
Sure.
Under the restaurant licenses, we do have Makaku at the 290 West Main Street, Unit 90. That probably should be taken off, correct?
You are correct.
Good catch, Lisa. Okay. Julianne?
And the police have had no problems. There's no issues with renewing any of these licenses, correct?
There are no issues.
Okay, thanks.
Nope. All of the paperwork's in good order. Inspections have been conducted by the building and fire departments. So I think, yeah.
Good.
Okay, is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, can I just ask
Sure.
one more question?
Absolutely.
When we read this motion, do we need to say something for each of the addresses similar to the voters?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think there was a motion distributed that just refers to the list, and maybe we could refer to the list other than the one that we discussed earlier as not being renewable.
Say that again? What do you mean?
Other than the one that has been withdrawn.
So that in the motion?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could mention that, or just so
As amended.
we're not doing that one. Yeah, as amended.
As amended. Okay, so. I have nowhere as amended is supposed to go. So I move the board to approve the renewal of annual licenses for the calendar year 2024 as indicated on the 2024 license renewal list as amended. Yeah, with the condition that each licensee receives a satisfactory inspection from the building, fire, and health departments and is in full compliance with both municipal and state codes and regulations.
Second.
Motion's been made by Lisa, seconded by Kristen. Any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Lisa?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Julianne?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Vote is unanimous in favor. Congratulations to everyone for another year of licenses being in good standing. Next up, we have review and approve select board meeting schedule for January through April. And it looks like we're just second and fourth Monday straight across the board, other than town meeting, which isn't a regular meeting night, of course. Does everyone in agreement with that? Lisa?
The question. I had heard that perhaps it would be a thought to move our Monday nights to Tuesday. Was that something that, Tim, you wanted to talk about, or you don't want to do it?
Yeah, I'll just, for context, usually because of when Proposition 2.5 came along, communities did this half day on Friday and they worked late on one night a week. And that night was usually the night of a board meeting. So the executive board would have the support of staff in the building during their meeting. It's just odd to have a Monday meeting and then have people work late on Tuesday. So I was, instead of asking everyone else to change the schedule, I could ask 5 people to change the schedule. But I don't want to propose that at this point because my eyes are very wide, as you can tell, and there's a lot happening, a lot of pieces, and I don't want to disrupt those wheels that are in motion at this point. So I don't want to make that pitch, but I'll tell you what the thought was because you brought it up. But I don't want to recommend any changes for the board at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd be open to talking about it at some point once we dive in. Sometimes there are ramifications. We move from Monday to Tuesday, and then somebody who's on Tuesday, ripple effects. So we'd want to plan a change like that out carefully. I appreciate the logic of it. I do know in a lot of towns the select board meets on Tuesdays.
Okay, that's all I wanted to bring up.
I don't think we need to formally approve that because our standard meetings are 2nd and 4th, unless somebody particularly wants to vote that. Okay. All right. So we know our meetings are 2nd and 4th Mondays for the next few months. Wow, through town meeting. We got to get ready for that. Next up, reports. Let's see. Kristen, any reports tonight?
I do have a report. Yeah, hold on. Okay, so I got to do my fire department ride along, and let me just tell you, you should all go. You should all go, everybody. So these are exactly the kind of people that you would hope to have taken care of you should you have the misfortune to find yourself in an ambulance, right? So they're very kind folks at the fire station, but they're also just nice people to spend time with. So if you don't have 8 hours like I did this one day to spend and really get the full like fire department experience and actually go on a ride along following the ambulance and doing inspections and visiting buildings in Northborough that you never noticed, but they're really important buildings that the police and the fire know exactly what's going on in there. It's so funny how the police and the fire department in particular, but I'm sure DPW too, to a certain extent, know all kinds of secrets that are happening in Northborough. They're not really secrets, but as regular people, you don't pay attention to everything. Anyway, so I just want to say thank you again to Captain Tev, who was my cruise director for the day. He was very kind and very patient with all my millions of questions and let me take pictures of weird things like the jaws of life and the other kind of crazy things they have on the sides of the fire trucks. Oh, and I'm just going to give you, I know I don't want to keep the meeting too long, but if you ever wondered why there's always a fire truck on the side of the highway when there's a car accident, it's not because they think the car might be on fire, which is what I always thought. It's not necessarily that. It's, first of all, a lot of the equipment to save people are in the fire truck, like the jaws of life, right? But also, mainly, it's there for protection for the ambulance and the people in the ambulance, the paramedics and the police officer who is at the scene. It's to protect them because the sides of highways are really, really dangerous. So if someone crashes into the side of a fire truck, they're only going to hurt themselves. They're not going to hurt these people who are trying to help the people who were in the car accident in the first place. So anyway, a little bit of trivia I learned on my day there. But anyway, and thank you so much to John for the ambulance tour and to Chris and then Chief Parenti, and I always want to call him Vice Chief, but that's not his name. Deputy Chief CZ. It was a great day. I loved it. So if you don't have the 8 hours, you could do half a day, or you could just go have coffee. They also said that's an option. Or you could go for dinner. They all know how to cook, and that's a whole thing. They'll tell you all about it. So thanks to them for that. I wanted to say congratulations to Chief Liver on an awesome career, and thank you for your service to Northborough. And but he has so much to be proud of. And I will miss him. I will miss our conversations. He's great. Obviously, also congratulations to Brian Griffin, but we'll talk about him more later, I suppose. So I just wanted to add too that I met recently with a member of a select board in a neighboring town, and I think it's really good for select board members to meet with people in other towns if y'all can get a chance to do that. It's really enlightening to see how different towns do things. And I think we were really helpful to each other, just on a very friendly level. We both have, we were both Irish step dance moms at the same time. And then years later, we both ended up on select boards. So kind of a funny coincidence. I really enjoyed talking to her. And I want to say just a quick addition, just thanks to Jean Cahill for calling in tonight and mentioning all the things she mentioned. That's really important to me as well. So thanks, that's it.
Okay, Lisa, any reports tonight?
Yes, I do. And I have to mirror Kristen on all of them. Oh my God, Kristen, it was perfect every way through. I have my December 28th fire ride or fire dinner or whatever, fire. So I'm looking forward to that. And all of the losing Chief Liver and welcoming soon to be Chief Griffin. So it's going to be exciting times. Again, and my condolences go out obviously to the Coxes and see them on Wednesday. I did go to the design reviews position at the fire station's design presentation. I guess that would be the best way to talk about it. And I really want to get, I wish I could just snap my fingers and give us a new fire station and have it all done. Obviously I can't, but I wanted to address the elephant in the room that we really didn't talk about then, and I think we need to talk about it. The lot is a little bit more of a problem every time it's discussed, and now we're talking about, I thought we had plenty of expandability in this land when we bought it, and it doesn't appear that's going to be the case. We're talking about having a 30-foot retaining wall behind and not going too far back because of the height of the hill that has to be taken away. I think you've got the people who live on the top of that hill who already had their homes compromised, their foundations compromised when the hillside grill blasting or whatever they did to carve that part of the hill away. And then to hear that not only are we going to have a retaining wall, but we're going to have the two swales of water control because the water that's coming off the hill. And on a day like today, which thank God we don't have very often, but there is water in a lot of places that you don't really notice until you have this kind of rain, and there's no way to really control that rain. And going around and looking to see where the flooding was today is a little surprising. And so those are a couple of things now that come into play besides the other, building issues and lack of expandability issues. And I just wanted to bring it up because I think it's really important that people know that they're going through an awful lot of research and information and trying to do this right. I really like the team that they built, that they brought on, that's there doing that work. But I'm getting concerned about how much extra cost we're going to be running into on that lot. And maybe that should be something we should see if we could find an alternative before it gets shoveled into ground. But again, just wanted to put it out there as a representative of the taxpayer and how much we're going to be spending on everything in the following years. So that's it for my report. Oh, and have a nice holiday. We won't be seeing you again until it's over. So that's why I wore my little trucks tonight. And thank you very much.
Julianne, any reports tonight?
Yes, so I'll start with the meeting about the fire station. The MPIC was there to state their wish that the architecture of the building will complement the downtown revitalization project. And I also would like to say and wish Chief Liver a long and enjoyable retirement, and hope he's going to do all the things that he's not had time to do so far. Chief Liver has had decades of experience in one of the most difficult professions, but he's done it professionally and kept Northborough safe. Not only did he do that, but he is leaving the department, I think, in really good hands with his successor and the department he's built. So thank you doesn't seem like enough to say, but please, Chief Liver, know how much we appreciate how you've kept Northborough safe and looked out for us. And I just want to say one more thing, because it is customary to wish everyone a happy holiday season at this time of the year. But it's also good to remember that while the holiday season can bring joy and happiness to some, for others it may be stressful and sad. So my wish for all of us, no matter where you are in life's journey, is that you find some peace in this season. And that ends my report.
Thank you very much, Julianne. Laura, any reports tonight?
That was a beautiful message, Julian. Thank you. I do have a couple things to report. Thank you as well to Chief Liver. I'm wishing you all the best in your retirement. I wanted to let everyone in Northborough know that it's Girl Scout cookie season. So if you are on the hunt for Girl Scout cookies, they'll be arriving in January. So reach out to your local Girl Scout. If you don't have a Girl Scout, feel free to reach out to the leaders at online, and we'd be happy to direct you to a Girl Scout that can help you. This is a big fundraiser for us, and it's something that we use for funding a lot of the activities that we do throughout the year. I was delighted to attend the menorah lighting that was hosted by the Community Affairs Committee on Wednesday. Thank you so much to everyone who made that event possible, and to everyone who attended. It was a really nice turnout, and it was a beautiful night. Special thanks to the police, DPW, and the fire department for all their work today with this unbelievable storm. I was driving around town. There were so many giant branches down, and it was just all hands on deck together around every corner. Welcome, Tim. I'm glad you're here. I'm looking forward to working with you. And last but not least, if you are going to be looking for a way of removing your Christmas tree, the Boy Scout Troop 101 will be doing their annual Christmas tree removal on Saturday, January 6th. You can sign up online for $10 per tree. And if you've got questions, you can email the troop at nborough troop101treepickup@gmail.com. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Laura. I've got a couple of things. As was mentioned during public input, the school committees are looking at solar panels for a lot of the school roofs and a couple of parking lots. I attended a presentation from their consultant at the combined school committee meeting a couple of weeks ago. It's a bold initiative, and they may want to get started as soon as this summer. They will need to go through us for town meeting approval of leases. So that would be an area that will be involved. It's, for anyone who hasn't, take a look at the combined school committee meeting. It's about a 20 or 30-minute presentation, and I think it's well worthwhile to understand what's coming and what they're looking to do. I will echo Laura's comment about the menorah lighting last Wednesday. That was a lot of fun, really, really good turnout. My goal every year is to not burn anyone, and I succeeded again in not burning anyone. But now that went really, really well. And I also want to thank Kaylee from Northborough Cable for putting together a really nice short video on that, which anyone's welcome to take a look at. I will echo everyone's comments in wishing Chief Liver an excellent retirement, and thank you so much for all the work you've done protecting and serving the town of Northborough. I'll remind select board members that the MMA conference is coming up in a few weeks. Last year, I was the only board member from Northborough attending. I would love that to be different this year. It's always the weekend of I think it's the 20th and 21st, give or take a day. Really, really good conference, really good sessions, very good vendor area. And this year we will get the first public peek at the budget of anybody, because the tradition, except for when a new governor is starting, as was the case last January, the governor gives a speech and we all get handouts for what the House 1 budget, which is the governor's proposed budget, looks like for our town. And that gives us a lot to go on and talk about. It's really a lot of fun. So if you're planning to go, let the office know. They will reserve the ticket, and you can reserve your own hotel room. But thankfully, we have line item in the budget for reimbursing for the hotel expenses. Some other good news from the school department is may remember a few months ago, the board authorized the school department to submit to MSBA to put the Peasley School onto the list for a future project, a future large construction project. This past week, the MSBA formally endorsed that and unanimously approved Peasley School to get onto the list for planning for a feasibility study. So that was nice. I participated in that. School superintendent and the school committee chair and a couple of others from the town were there virtually. The meetings are remote, which are a lot easier than the old time where you had to get to downtown Boston and stand around all day waiting for your turn. But that's really good news for the town. It really is. It's a multi-year process that will be able to get started now. And lastly, happy holidays, everyone. And that ends my report. Tim, do you have anything for us tonight under your report?
I'm just going to cover a few quick things. I know you guys just interviewed me, so you know I might talk fast. So if I do, get your pens ready. I'm just going to try to cover things quickly. First, I need to thank everyone. You've been so warm and welcoming to me and my family. I was at the menorah lighting ceremony, and I was invited, unbeknownst to me, to come up and partake, which I appreciated. So everybody here has been great. The staff, just my initial assessment, they're committed to service. They're committed to their work. They're subject matter experts. You are in fine hands from the start. So I know it's only a 6-day window, but usually first impressions are the right ones. And I have that impression from everybody that I've met. So I appreciate the welcoming and the support from the board, reaching out to me first week, and then again today with certain members I've talked to today. I appreciate that. I'm trying to tour as many buildings as I can. I only went to the police station last week. As I go through, I will tour other facilities with the particular department heads. I did have one department head meeting on Friday, and we discussed the FY25 budget requests are due back on the 29th. Big numbers like Worcester County retirement and health insurance won't be known until January. And obviously, as the chair just mentioned, we won't know the budget from House 1 until late January anyways. But so some of our revenue we may not know. I always like to just level fund revenue from the state until we know, because the iterations it goes through with the reconciliation process and the Senate budget, the House budget, and so forth. So I'm going to wait on that kind of estimate from my perspective in keeping that level. I'll just, all right, I can just give you this. We've worked on the letter for SA Farms. I know it's an executive session matter, but we are seeking input from Mark Lanza before we send that out. Also worked this week and last on 13 Church Street matter with Catherine at KP Law. So coordinating that effort to get the PNS signed. Also working on the West Main Street lease with David at KP. So that's underway. A project that Mike started was a strategic assessment of the health and family services, or youth and family services, to see if improvements can be made. So we asked CMRPC to come in and assess the operation for a more holistic approach to perhaps restructuring now that the office is vacant and everything that's going on in that office is falling to public health. So I thought that that was a good use, and I, would kick off that on Wednesday. We provide all these services throughout the organization, right? Senior Center has their group, the police has theirs, the schools have theirs, and health has theirs, and then obviously family and youth services has theirs. So it's a perfect opportunity to look at it all. We hope to be finalized with that project for April. So I think it's a good opportunity to look at it holistically and move forward with a plan that provides all-encompassing wraparound services, including all of those stakeholders and shareholders in the discussion, so we can get a robust program started, given that there's no data from a historic perspective for that particular operation. We did receive a correspondence today regarding the state's fair share apportionment for fiscal 24. It goes to Chapter 90. It's an additional $264,000. I just got it stamped in today. I'll send you a copy of the letter. It's just a one-page letter from the governor's office. And under HR, as you know, I worked on the police chief's contract last week and over the weekend. We reposted the ad for the finance director. The last one that they posted, they had no one apply, which is pretty sad. But I took a different approach this time. We cast a little wider net using obviously the MMA, ICMA, which is the International City Managers Association. So we have that in there. And then we went to the Mass Treasurers Association and the Mass Clerks Association through their listserv to hopefully get it posted in various town halls throughout the Commonwealth so we can attract a qualified candidate. In the HR world, it seems like a lot of my time today was spent on HR. I did receive 2 resignations. The health director is resigning. I got that today, and I want to let the board know that. And the children's librarian gave her notice as well today. So we had a discussion with the health director. We have transition plans that we're working on. So it's sad because, I just get here and I want people to stay and help us grow, but they're moving on to other positions that they've sought, and congratulations to them. And we'll have to work through those issues. I had a board template that I use for a board report, which I can just email. I want to get you, documentation so I don't have to talk long at a meeting like I am right now, where you can just have a quick look at things. And I have different topics from, committee vacancies to state and federal correspondence with the town, where you can just have a quick read. I will always try to update the board by email on any given issue as it comes up. And finally, there are some pending litigations that the town is in. I would like maybe in January, if the chair and I could work together on setting a time for one meeting to get a litigation update from all the cases, so I can hear it maybe for the first time, maybe the second time. You can get a status update. We can save money, save time. Be in one room, get all those attorneys who might be involved in various cases, and just get us all up to date as one. And that's all I had for our report.
Tim, Diane, anything for us tonight?
I have no report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other business to come up this evening? Hearing none. Public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to offer any input to us before we close out the evening? Going once, going twice. Public comment is closed. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Julianne, seconded by Kristen to adjourn. All those in favor, Julianne,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
Laura,
Aye.
Lisa.
Aye.
I also vote aye. Vote is unanimous in favor. We are adjourned at 8:59 p.m. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful
Thanks,
night.
everyone.
Happy New
Thank
Year.
you.
Bye-bye.